patient, but now we take it. Anytime we want this game, my situation is entertainment intertwined with information. Alchemist soul, how we move the tassel and roll. It's amazing how we can turn something brass to gold. And we steady making hits. Architect with the prop in the scripts. It's logical that the product will flip. My boy Chef did the lineup. I'm fresh in the bitch. Carnivorous podcast, the newest show on the list. DQ on the boat, so I'm rocking the ship. Swallow the music gon' be dope and the artist legit. Hold my beard, concrete cord, then stepped in the door. See, that's my man and he reppin' for show. The true savior's a player with flavor. Lexicon Taylor, lines on point like a laser. We need that paper, we building the vault. Cause you niggas don't listen, y'all be waiting to talk. Lack accountability and try to make it our fault. But opposing us is trying to arm wrestle the hawk. You coming up short on your re-up, nigga we up. Really wouldn't want to be up. I kick my feet up. My beef is wagyu and my trunk is all speakers. Bills is all blue and my blunt is all reefer. Responsible deniability, that boy eater. High quality whack juice by the liter. They like to call us ops, we got Oppenheimer features. That's the bomb out on the island just to teach you. Yeah. DQ, baby. Check. Look, the fashion is clever, spectacular weather. I'm blacker than I ever been. Skisha patting some leather, ink and a feather. I plan some immaculate letters. My family stay with the gift, cause we rapping together. Like it's Christmas Eve, I just roll up my sleeve and drink a cup of hot cocoa while she rolling some leaves. Have you ever lit a blunt off a chimney log? Massage from a synagogue, leaves foreign student with her friends involved. No, you haven't, so I ain't trying to have it. I'm painting pictures that's lavish, getaway log cabins. Amazing the magnetism, a magnet in all facets. Check my discography, baby, it's all classics. Feeling like Curl Baskins, surrounded by all this pussy. Making this money of y'all bastards. Funny how I mastered the art of being a subtle asshole. On my dean, I'm shutting down y'all classes. COVID-19 flow nasty. Lamar Jackson with the stats, how I'm passing y'all lasses. Catch me on the lake chilling, laughing, everlasting. My mind forever layer like fall fashion, nigga. Early morning, cleaning house, smoking that dough, making money, breaking bank, getting that dough. Grab a gun, but grab a book. Don't be a dodo. If them boys disagree, then hit the dough. Early morning, cleaning house, smoking that dough, making money, breaking bank, getting that dough. Grab a gun, but grab a book. Don't be a dodo. If them boys disagree, then hit the dough.
Yup, and click the photo. The beat knocking like a piston missing in the Lolo. The chicks should know the mission is to get some more dough. And if the friction and the tension seem intentional, then it's a no-go. And as an OG, I'm telling them young brothers to be cool. They push bass and turn up high, like my EQ that's clipping in the whip. And they say, yo, shit clean, pushing 60 in the trunk. 415s, going blah-da-down, blah-da-down. About to bounce, I hit the gas and rip the engine out the motor mounts. Hit the house to go read Dr. Ben. Then this chick sent a text that said, lock me in. Hibachi grill, Wagyu beef, Lil Kobe slice, late night demo tapes like Lil Homie nights. I text back at 4 a.m. while your girlie yawning, cause she think it feel better in the early morning.
Early morning, cleaning house, smoking that dough, making money, breaking bank, getting that dough. Grab a gun, but grab a book. Don't be a dodo. If them boys disagree, then hit the dough. Early morning, cleaning house, smoking that dough, making money, breaking bank, getting that dough. Grab a gun, but grab a book. Don't be a dodo. If them boys disagree, then hit the dough. Yeah.
All right, we there?
Yeah, we're going.
Hey, what's up? What's up, family? I'm glad you're all here. We got a great show tonight. We're trying to wait for our guest. He told us he's gonna be a little bit late, so we're just gonna spend some time talking about some things before we get to the subject of the day, which is our guest is Minnesota mob boss, Money Boss. So we're gonna get with him in a little bit. We're gonna talk about hip hop and his experience. So, but in the meantime, let's talk about a little politics if you want. what's going on today. One issue that's really on the top of mind for me is this 14th Amendment and what it means to you, and whether or not is it possible they could deport Black Americans? You know, that's something that I think about. What do you think about that?
Peace to the chat, peace to the people. Gonna be a nice show. I think it's gonna be, create a long string of shows. So I think this is a good introduction. Shout out to my brother Hits, my brother Logic, my brother DQ, my brother Carnivorous Podcast, Corey and Chef. I don't know. I had this conversation with somebody else, and well, one with an executive order. Let's get into some facts.
Right.
With an executive order, you're not going to be able to amend the Constitution. Now, you might be able to start the conversation, but you're not amending that. You need 2/3. So that's comforting. I lean on the Constitution. But I was talking to my brother Chef, shout out to Carnivorous Podcast, and I was telling him, he was telling me that we shouldn't be concerned as something for us. But let me throw an idea off for you before we get to Minnesota. Let me ask you a question. As soon as don't you get the feeling that in these first 10 days, right? It's been a crazy first 10 days, right? And once you're able, if you throw something against the wall, you know, all these different executive orders, all these different moves, and then somehow you get them to amend the Constitution. Now, even though it's for illegal immigration, I loved how they came out and said the 14th Amendment was originally for the children of formerly enslaved Africans. I get that. But somehow over time, we can do that on another show. Over time, it became any child born, not just, you know, African-American children born. But once you're able to start playing with the Constitution, and once you're able to start rolling things back, don't you think that we should probably pay attention to that being the majority of our protections? You know, there was a time in the Constitution we weren't even human. So the reason why I'm concerned about it is not this initial salvo that they've thrown out to ending birthright citizenship, which is picking up support. But not the initial salvo that's targeted at them. But if they're successful at getting the Constitution amended to say, you know, to take it back to simply just us, then wouldn't that kind of, you put your hand in the cookie jar, wouldn't that kind of say, hey, we got that done, let's throw something else against the wall, let's mess with the Voting Rights Act. And it's not like this, we're new to things like this. There's things where we didn't pay attention. The Voting Rights Act got played with. A lot of people didn't really understand Roe v. Wade until it just became news again. Like, you can, with certain things, you can get it done. So I don't know. That would be my concern. I think if you're born, it's a slippery slope to say anybody born in the United States, no matter what, becomes a U.S. citizen. I think it's a slippery slope, but I wouldn't just look at them and say, hey, that's what's happening to them, and that's them, and that's them. I don't think we should do that. I think we should keep our ears up.
Right. I agree. I think it's about interpretation. That's what Trump people are saying. It's how you interpret the 14th Amendment. And so they don't need, basically they're saying they don't need 2/3 to overturn it. They just need a court to interpret it the way they think it should be interpreted, and at least remove other people who are not Black American. But I believe once they succeed with that, then they'll figure out a way to get rid of us. So, but I remember the time when during the when the football players were kneeling and Trump got all upset. He was saying that maybe we should deport those football players. Yeah. So he has the mindset that he would be willing to do it if he could figure out a way to do it, because it's not even deporting people to their place of origin. It's deporting people to a country who will accept them.
Exactly. Anybody who will accept them. Yeah.
And he figures that whatever country that he has some kind of leverage on, he can say, well, you got to take these people, or you won't get this from us, or you won't get that from us. So this is what it means. So when people talk about, hey, as a Black American, oh, we've been here for 400 or 500 years, you know, they can't deport us. Well, he's deporting people and sending them anywhere a country would accept them. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that could be us one day. I think it'll come in stages. If he happens to stay in there longer, if he figures a way to stay in there longer than the 4 years, which he's going to try to do, it'll come in stages, and he'll try to figure out a way to get rid of us as well. Because this country is only Americans. The only Americans are white Americans, not even Native Americans, according to MAGA.
Essentially, yeah.
White Americans are the only ones who are true Americans.
Yeah, I had put in the chat, and y'all, the Discord link is pinned. Y'all get in that Discord. We're gonna start taping a show next week. I want you to be a part of the first one at least. We have these great voice chats in the Discord, so we're gonna start taping these Discord chats and letting the people see them, because we waste. If y'all think the shows we do are fire, y'all think Corey and them are exciting, behind the scenes on these voice chats we have just privately in our own time, these conversations are crazy. And we were talking about how his press secretary Levitt, they asked her about Black History Month, and she started talking. Her answer, the question posed to her were, being that you're rolling back all of these DEI programs, what is the White House's stance on Black History Month? And that's a good question. You know, it was like, what? So if you're rolling back all of these things, are you celebrating? And she didn't say, okay, we're just celebrating. We're not going to celebrate Black History Month. But the words out of her mouth was, yes, American History Month is a great time for all Americans. We're going to start, we're going to focus on the contributions of all Americans. And I was sitting there and I was like, she's not saying Black History Month. And then she started being specific. Then the Pentagon the next day canceled Black History Month celebrations, women's history. It's not just Black people. It's not just targeted as us. A Native American History Month, Italian. It was all of it. And then give me the thumbs up when you're ready, Minnesota. It was all of it. And then yesterday, Trump put out a press release kind of walking it all back, saying, you know, the contributions of Black History Month, and Black History Month starts today. So, you know, as a matter of fact, happy Black History Month to everybody. It is the 1st of February. But I don't know, Truth. I don't know where I stand with it. Okay, I don't know where I stand with it. Some of this stuff is it's kind of kooky to see what to pay. I pay attention to all of it, but I'm paying close attention to, I mean, that's a whole nother show, but what the access they gave Elon Musk to the Treasury, that stuff like that concerns me more than, you know, smoke screens off to the right. You know, RFK's confirmation was hilarious. Hegseth's confirmation was hilarious. I told them I couldn't sit in a meeting and listen to RFK for longer than 3 minutes, bro.
Well, his voice is irritating.
His voice is, he doesn't sound healthy. He's going to be the Secretary of Health, and he doesn't sound healthy. He said, I thought Trump canceled it. No,
let me say this for the chat real quick. But in the chat, just want you guys to know that we're waiting for Minnesota money to come on. So be patient, and we're going to get with the show. If you're waiting for that.
We got you. Yeah, he's ready. We're finishing up the monologue, and then we're going to bring him up.
Okay.
But they saying, shouts to Haskell. He said, I thought Trump canceled it. No, his press secretary, and when they were saying cancel it, you can't cancel, it's a federal law. But they're talking about celebrations in the White House and the administration. So the Pentagon, the White House, the floor, and Supreme Court, all of that. Nationwide, you know, you necessarily can't stop it. They can stop programs that they fund. But if your school or your teacher decides not to teach on Black History Month, that's a choice that they made. No, not necessarily. And that's something crazy. See, this is we need to do a separate show one day this week. You got to tell me when you're free so we can just have some good conversation. But what we are here for today, my brother True Saviour introduced me to this guy, Minnesota Money Man, boss. And when and here's the crazy part, right? Sometimes when I do content, I don't know when people call me into these meetings, hey, I want to do some content. Hey, I like your show. Most of it, 90% of it is stuff that I would never talk about. We actually had a lady that wanted to talk about the forecasting of the almonds in California after the wildfires. And I said, while that would be a great show, I have no interest in that show whatsoever. Peace to you, Malik Bey. And so, but then Truth every now and then, very sparingly, will say, "Hey, I got somebody I think you need to sit down and talk with," and he's been 100% on Bustetto, different names like that. I got you, Haskell. And he introduced me to Minnesota. So now I'm sitting here. So he asked me, he said, "Who's Minnesota?" I'm like, "I heard this name before, right? I don't know who it is." And then all you got to do is Google the man's name. Now I was born in Ohio, but I grew up in the bricks. I saw Biggie. I saw other artists. Then I saw Grammys. Then I was like, wait a minute. Did you just introduce me to a producer that's got all of these accolades? And I wasn't dressed up. I was just talking like I was talking to a content creator. So we got Minnesota tonight, but one of his passions, and True Saviour is going to handle the interview. I'm going to be in the background. Shouts to Tri Media, shouts to Carnivorous Podcast. But the conversation this evening is one of his passions is hip hop. And he said he loved the content that we were talking about along the authenticity of hip hop. So as I pass it over to Truth, you're about to have a conversation. You're going to be privileged to have a conversation with somebody who not only is relevant simply because he's an African-American male, but relevant in the industry that we all watch and entertain ourselves with, and was there at the beginning all the way through. So I'm going to hand it over to you, my brother Hits, Minnesota. Thank you for blessing the platform. This won't be the only show, so we don't got to give them everything this show. But
right.
Yeah, we don't got to give them everything.
Right.
But
Thank you.
I appreciate you, my brother. I'm coming from a set of gratefulness, from a point of humbleness. True Saviour, take it over. I will be here, but I'll be in the background.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the platform.
And thank you so much, Brass and Tri Media, for hosting this particular interview. And I want to introduce to some and present to others who may not know him, but I'm just going to read this off real quick. It's a Grammy Award winning producer artist in the hip hop and rap genres. He's known for his work with Money Boss Players, and producing tracks for artists like Notorious B.I.G., Lil' Kim, and Ja Rule. The list goes on and on. The accolades goes on and on. And so for those who don't know, this is my good friend. Just met him not too long ago, but he's a good friend of mine. Minnesota Money Boss. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, comrade.
Great. And if you want to say something about yourself, you're more than welcome to do that.
Hey, I'm born and raised in the Bronx, and as a child, my first memories, 169th and Boston Road, where Flash played music. From there, we moved to Queens for a year. That didn't work out. We moved back to the Bronx to 183rd and Southern Boulevard, which was 183rd Southern Boulevard, Crotona, Prospect, and then from there to Soundview. And then we'll get into it. So I'm born and raised in the Bronx. So I know when people see the name Minnesota, it throws them off, like, So
right. Well, how did that name come about, first of all?
It came about in the crack era. In 84, the Puerto Ricans from my block, which is Soundview, were at war with the Puerto Ricans from Cyprus, and they were fighting over girls. They were really trying to kill each other. So my government name is Mark, and I was standing next to my Spanish friend Mark. And when the guys from Cyprus came to fire on him, a guy named Bimo, he just said, "Minnesota, hit the floor." And the name stuck. I mean, I almost died in the gunfire, but I'm still here to talk about it. So the name stuck. Everybody laughed after it was over. I mean, we lived through some turbulent times growing up in the East Bronx.
Wow. So let's get right into because I know why you're here. You're here to talk about this 50-50 controversy. So you tell me, what is it about the 50-50 controversy that irritates you the most?
After watching it, with crime, there's always motive and opportunity. So I watched it, and I got interviewed by the guy who's like at spearheading it. Mm-hmm. And I started to notice something was wrong. It's a fairy tale. It's a fantasy. It's a lie. We were not 50-50 in the Bronx so far as hip hop goes. So, within our culture, we start things and we throw them away. And breakdancing was one of those things. In 1976, black folks got up off the floor. We started wearing leaf suits with writing on it and matching Pumas. And the Puerto Ricans stayed on the floor. And much love to them, because that aspect would have died if it wasn't for them. But this whole argument is for the inception point. Right. So I want to talk about what I've seen inception point wise.
Okay, well then let's start with let's talk about in terms of when did you feel hip hop started in your mind, inception wise? What did you feel that actually started? What year, where? Basically?
I want to say 75-ish, 76. My mother and my aunt, when I was a little boy, they were always in the parks because they would buy the big tray bags of marijuana and they roll their joints up, and they couldn't smoke in the house with my grandmother, so they would go downstairs and they would smoke in the park. So as a baby, I was in the park, and what I would see in the park wasn't hip hop. I would see some tough looking guys with writing on the back of their jacket, and the writing was like Savage Nomads, Savage Skulls, Power Bronx, Chingalings, Black Spades. All of these, it was just different sets, different crews, different gangs, and it was no way that you could have brought music out there to be around these type of people, because these were basically street people for the time in the 70s, vicious people.
Right. So what do you think? Let's be particular or specific. What do you think the end game is for people like Dr. Cologne and Fat Joe? What do you think they're trying to achieve?
Museums generate billions of dollars. Our people are not at cultural peak where we pay attention to things like this. So, if I can attach the white Hispanic to hip hop, 1,000 years from now, Martin Luther King is white, James Brown is white, Disco King Mario is white, Kool Herc is white. So I think there's a play. I think people are being placed in our thing, in our inception point. So down the road, it'll be easy to steal.
Okay. So I remember we were talking in the past, and you talked about this term down by law as referring to Puerto Ricans. Can you explain that?
Okay, so in the Bronx, New York, my experience from then to now, we've always had three kinds of Puerto Ricans. And Puerto Ricans, strap on your seatbelts, trigger warning, I love y'all. My son is half Dominican and Puerto Rican. I love y'all. This is not to isolate y'all. We are arguing for our inception point. We have the right to do that. In the Bronx, we have three kinds of Puerto Ricans. We have the down by law Puerto Ricans. And those are people like my man Powwow from Soundview, my man Puerto Rican Rich from Webster. They've always intertwined with our culture. They've never act funny with us. And we don't, Jason and Gil from over there by St. Lawrence and Westchester originally, like you just had some Puerto Ricans who were always with the blacks, and they had a black style with them. We didn't look at them as different. So you have the down by law Puerto Ricans. Then you got the Guitos, which are like, oh, let's go dancing. They're just real friendly. They're outgoing. They love the party. They're about the salsa. They're very friendly. And then you have the white Hispanics. And the white Hispanics, they could be Dominican, they could be Puerto Rican, and they like, I ain't no black, and they don't mess with us. They are separatists by nature. Okay. So we've always had that in growing up in the Bronx, New York. But it's gotten to a point now where that's not even strong anymore, because our families are intertwined. Right. Black men been rocking for the past 50 years, so everybody's getting a little darker or a little beiger.
Yeah. So I did a video not too long ago talking about the dominance of Black American culture in the 70s. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, so I know what that's like, and I'm sure it was like that in the Bronx as well. That the African American or Black American culture was the dominant culture, even though it was Puerto Ricans in the mix. But in terms of fashion, in terms of language, how did you see Black American culture in the Bronx in terms of whether it was dominant or not?
Well, it's always been dominant, whether positive or negative. When we start the thing, others follow. You
Right.
have Puerto Rican Crips and Bloods in New York City now, and that's based on when we tend to get with something, people follow that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's positive or negative, whatever we end up doing, whether we throw it away, whether we keep it going, others join in. But it's always us at the forefront, and that's based on our DNA, our mRNA, our epigenetics. We've always been the creators. And, you know, I just want to say something to you. Why not come for German music?
Right.
Why not come for Afrobeat? Why not come for all of these different styles of music? Why hip hop in particular? Because hip hop is that infinite circle. It's the 360 degrees. You could do rap Italian, rap German, rap Russian, rap African, rap Brazil.
Right.
And people want a part of this thing because down the line, they can't say, nah, they did that by themselves. They can't allow that. So what I understand now is it's a play, it's a theft in progress.
Okay. Yeah, but that's exactly how I see it. I have a friend of mine, his name was Malik Bey. Shout out to Malik Bey if he's watching. He always said they're walking amongst giants. This is why they're trying to take it, because we're the giants and they're walking amongst us. And that's the way I see it. And I agree with him. You know, now okay. Have you ever, in all the jams that you went to, ever heard salsa music being played at any of the jams?
There was one break that Jazzy J used to cut up. Lightning Lance, Cool Clyde, I think it's called Mambo Number 5.
Okay.
But with breaks was about the good part, the dance part. It had nothing to do with the conga, as oh man, Dr. Cologne with the conga and the timbales.
Right.
As a child who loved music, and everybody, I got a whole neighborhood that knows, like, before the crack era came in the 70s and going up into the 80s, I was a young DJ in the neighborhood. It was me, my man Mike Teef up on Beach Avenue, DJ Eazy-E, who passed away during the crack era. He was the biggest DJ. Cool Clyde, Lightning Lance. I know them, but I've never got to intertwine with them and DJ on their set or nothing like that. Easy LG is from our neighborhood. So my side of the Bronx, we were all under a guy named Zulu Tone. So it was just us, man. And when I say it was us, you had a lot. God bless my man Derek Coleman. He was another person that knew how to cut. And one of the DJs that used to play on my side, I gotta give him his credit, was Master Ice from the Jazzy 5 MCs. He handled Soundview before Cool Clyde and Lightning Lance would come over and DJ. So and then Mario would play in the big park. So at the spear, at the tip, the front of the spear was Indigenous, Aboriginals, African Americans, Moors, whatever you want to call us. It was all us.
Okay. All right. So now there seems to be this misunderstanding amongst some in the Puerto Rican community who are trying to say that our message is that they weren't there at all. We know that Puerto Ricans were in the neighborhood. We know that. But they want to make this argument about we're trying to say they weren't there at all. And that's not what we're saying. I'm sure that's not what you're saying, but we're saying the predominant group of people that were there were clearly Black Americans, right?
Clearly Black Americans. I want to tell you a story about my friend Big Pun, because I grew up with Big Pun, right?
Okay, good.
And
Yeah.
his uncle Wimpy, I have to bring up Wimpy. Wimpy was our baseball coach, right? And his sister, Wimpy and his sister Angie. First of all, Pun is Puerto Rican and Cuban, right? Because his uncle Angie and Wimpy are clearly, they got some color to them. His cousin Booby and Jamie is darker than me. Wimpy, whatever he did with the Cold Crush so far as carrying records and being with them, Wimpy was the first one to start recording the jams when they were doing them. So, hey, Puerto Ricans, look, you got Tape Master and you got Wimpy, because Wimpy influenced Tape Master. So Wimpy started making copies of the Cold Crush and was selling them, because I grew up on a dope block, and when I got to Soundview, it was the biggest heroin block in the Bronx. It was 170th in College and Soundview, Commonwealth and Randall. Wimpy started selling these tapes to the dope boys, and when Tape Master started to see Wimpy making money doing it, Tape Master took it to another level. He had a spot in the flea market where he had all of the jams recorded. You know what I'm saying? So that was the beginning of selling. Before a mixtape, that was somebody be downstairs with a big radio playing Grandmaster Casnum. It's 1981, and before the year is done, that was the beginning. So in that aspect, I'm trying to say this. When you start to look at people like Joe Conzo, when you start to look at people like Pun's Uncle Wimpy, and this is not to badger them, they did play a part. They were there recording and taking pictures because they wasn't at the focal point of the culture. And thank goodness for them doing that, because we would have no recorded record. Because see, with indigenous, aboriginals, African Americans, we create it, we drop it. We create it, we drop it. We create it, we throw it away. We get over it fast. It's like with breakdancing.
Right.
When I was a little boy, I saw black people breakdancing, and I'm gonna tell you what happened in 1976. We started getting fresh. I got new Pumas on, a new lease suit. I'm not getting on that floor no more. The Puerto Ricans stayed on the floor, and thank them for that, because they took breakdancing to higher levels. Because we was done with it. It was over.
Right. I agree. So would you say that Latinos moving into breaking was like 76, 77? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Because I, when you listen to interviews from Charlie Rock or even Cavs, when they talk about Puerto Ricans moving slowly into hip hop, but then it's definitely breaking, they say, 77, 78, they give those years as them moving into it. But so it goes against the narrative that Cologne wants to suggest that they were there much earlier. And so I just want to basically squash that whole idea in your experience, because this is you're speaking from your experience and what you've seen with your eyes.
You know what? I want to say this, right? To everybody out there, I want to present a receipt. This is a book by a man named Willie Estrada documenting what Puerto Ricans were doing in the Bronx in the 70s. This is a receipt.
I'm going to ask Brass to show a few pictures if you want me to.
Yeah, you can show some pictures. So the book is called The Dancing Gangsters of the South Bronx, The Rise of the Latin Hustle. So my question is this. If you had a hustle, how come you had to have a Latin hustle? How come it just couldn't be the hustle? Is it because maybe you saw it and you always wanted to come up with your version? So, very important. I watched Dr. Cologne's video the other day, and this is not, mind you, this is not to badger him either. But it's a little clip with a Puerto Rican dude saying, yo, I was in the Remy, I was in this one, I was in that spot, I was in Broadway International, I was in Bonds, blah, blah, blah. And I want to ask you something. Truth, if you opened a club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it held 3,600 people, 1,500 people, do you think everybody could party on the same night? Or would you have to make a Latin night, a Jamaican night,
Mm-hmm.
African-American R&B night? So yeah, that guy was at all of those clubs.
Right.
Because you have to, if anybody that owns a club, you have to have different nights. You might have to have South American night. People tend to party with their ethnicity.
Right. Right.
It was never a time where we were 1,000 on top of each other like this.
Mm-hmm.
I never went to a Menudo concert and didn't desire to.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
it's like, if you open up the venue, of course you're going to have different nights. So with that being stated, there never was a, now let me tell you, the down by law Puerto Ricans was with us. I'm not going to take that from you. And they're probably the ones who went back like, yo, come on, this is where it's at. But I would say, yeah, they were there. But in what order? What were you doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you look at the book, The Rise of the Latin Hustle, The Dancing Gangsters of the Bronx, something is going to jump out at you. I know Homeboy's book sales are probably going through the roof now. He's like, what's going on? But see if you can, because it's very important. I'm so glad that he documented this. I'm so glad. Because, you know, I'll say, you know, I'm a Libra, and Libras are petty. Like, we got a whole nother level of passive aggressive. So I just let Dr. Cologne keep going, and then pulled out the book on him. And there's some beautiful pictures in the book documenting what Latinos were doing in the 70s.
Right. 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 So what do you think about, you ever heard the term the rock dance? What do you know anything about that dance?
Look, I will say this. I don't want to go too far into what I don't know.
Okay.
All I can speak on is what I saw. And what I saw initially as a baby and as coming up to 12 years old in the Bronx, initially it was black children breaking, but we left it alone. Once the gear came in, once the Pumas and the British Walkers and the mock necks and all that came in, it was over. Once the eyes, it was over. We were in the department of collecting records, DJing, scratching, a little bit of electric boogie and stuff like that. But for the most part, the black children were into styling and profiling.
Right. Yeah, I can remember those days, even though I'm from Newark. That's how I remember those days for sure. Yeah. So let's talk about what can you say about the jams? Where were they at? Where were the kind of places that had some kind of, that rang a bell, like, wow, this was the place to be in the Bronx?
Watson Park across the street from Bronxdale. Now the place to be, 123, I'm not gonna lie, was a little bit before me. That was the early 70s when Mario and them did that. Then they would DJ in Watson Park. That's where I saw Mario in Watson Park. The big park in Soundview down at the bottom of the hill on Seward and Metcalf. And I went to one or two jams in the third section, but by that time it wasn't Mario. It was all about Cool Clyde and Lightning Lance. So there was a jam before over at Leland and Story, and that was rare because those are like the nice buildings. So the biggest jam that I ever went to was at Kmart. Back then it was called Corvettes. It was at the time the store had went out of business. They hooked it up, and it was thousands of children out there just in peace. Everybody was out there chilling. And I remember walking to the jam, and I heard whoever was DJing was cutting up LTD, cutting it up. And the way they had the speakers was so big, you could hear the music from blocks away. But as you get closer, the music's getting louder and louder and louder. So, you know, that was really fly for me, you know?
So what
So,
about
yeah.
Echo Place? What about Echo Place? Was that a hot spot?
So what I will say is this. The Bronx is big but small. So for people to be playing music all the way, even when the crack era started, we would still go to jams, but it got to a point where they would shoot the jam up. So jams got dangerous. So you stayed a little local. But a hot spot for hip hop activity was 132 Park on between 168th and 169th and Park Avenue. That's Webster and Washington, what you would call a 9, because 132 is connected to 169th and Washington, where you had DJ Fomolo, DJ Kusa, you had the Nigga Twins over there. Hold on, let me get this right. Where Yankee Stadium is at now, used to be a park, and they would jam out there. And that's where they started to play some Jamaican music, but this is 85, 86. They would do Sundays over there. It's over. The old school is, whoever was old school don't even matter no more. I'm trying to think. I heard of something in Pole Park where Dr. Cologne says he was at, but I can't sit and verify and say I've been to a jam in Pole Park, but really forever, the hotbed was always around Patterson Projects on 143rd and 3rd Avenue. Soundview, which is on Seward and Metcalf. I mean, people from all over the Bronx would come and we would have a jam. Monroe Projects, 100 Park. That was a hip hop centrifugal force type of place. I know they did something in Castle Hill. 131 Park, 100 Park. Before I moved to Soundview, they did jams over in 118 Park, which is over like around where the Chingalings were. That was like by Mapes Pool, 180th, not off of Southern Boulevard, but I get the blocks mixed up, so I don't want to call out the blocks. And that's where you would catch Grandmaster Caz down there, 118 Park. There were jams all over, but see, jams kind of went. Lambert was that's where Raheem from the Furious Five is from. There was jams over there. So I would say there were jams where there were black housing developments. That was the first places to play. So wherever you had the projects, that was the first jams. So the East Bronx, where I'm from, Castle Hill, Soundview, Bronxdale, that was just the embryonic stages, the inception point. And then Bambaataa, see, when Bronx River did it, see, when you start to talk about hip hop, and I'm from Soundview, so I'm from the drug block. It was a drug block in the 60s and the 70s. When you really start to talk about who did what, you got to even take me off the table. You got to talk to people from Bronxdale and Bronx River. They're the only ones. I don't care if you're the hip hop historian. If you ain't dug your nails deep into Bronxdale and Bronx River and you want to talk about inception point, you got to shut up.
Okay. So for anybody who says that hip hop came from other areas other than Bronxdale or Bronx River, wouldn't be telling the truth.
Well, look, here's the thing, right? Kool Herc's sister was dating a black spade. Because I got elders and I'm waiting for them to come on and just tear it out the frame. Kool Herc's, according to them, Kool Herc's sister was dating a black spade, and he was coming over to the East Bronx and seeing what Mario was doing, and then got cool with Mario and took the idea over to the other side. It's just that he's a little more documented. They got footage of him. So I'll tell you what I heard from my elders. Herc stepped up when Bam caught his troubles because he didn't want hip hop to get thrown to the wayside.
Okay. All right. I got a cue to take a commercial break, and so we're going to be right back. All right, just hold on for a second, Minnesota.
Yeah, DQ. Check. Have you ever had a dream in the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down. Nigga, have you ever really thought about the limelight? In a room full of stars when you shine bright. I'ma make the right move when the time right. Alright. Nigga, have you ever had a dream during the daytime? Had the same dream since the playground. If you made it come true, cause you stay down.
Trimedia Records.
This is my story. Get the story.
On your ID, you see me calling nigga. Out of his league, a workaholic nigga. Nickname, big game, big things. Handle his business, he never switched lanes. Had some brain surgeries in high school. Still came out that bitch a top dude. Moved to the city of the Mavericks. Came out this bitch dropping classics.
All right. We back. I got let me follow up with this question. What do Puerto Ricans have to do to show you or prove to you that this was a 50-50 thing? What kind of receipts should they produce in order to prove that?
It's a fantasy. There is no receipt.
There's no receipts.
Here's the receipt here. Homie got a lot of pictures.
You see, he got some pictures in Brass. You show those pictures?
Homie got a lot of pictures detailing the rise of the Latin hustle.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, let me ask you this. There goes some pictures, right? Go through those. You see those? Minnesota, right? You see those pictures, right?
Even their flyers were different. Even their flyers were different. Like everything was different.
All right. And that's what, 78? Yeah, January 14th, 1978. Yeah, man. So tell me, I remember you telling me about this story about Herc playing and somebody throwing a toilet seat off the.
So, and this is not legend has it because my people are the ones who did it. But when Herc played in Bronx River, you know how the housing, they were changing the toilet seats in Bronx River. So the people got frustrated because he's playing all this, let's get it together. Let's get it together. So my people went up to the roof and they were throwing toilet stools off of the roof. So he got on the mic, he was like, yo, I'll play Apache. Just stop throwing the toilet seats. He's a disco DJ, and there's nothing wrong with that. But how are you, the merry-go-round guy, if you don't know to play Apache in the 70s?
Now, that's a controversial statement you just made, because some people would say that's blasphemous. Call Herc a disco DJ. How do you come to that conclusion?
Hey, look, I'm going to say this, right? The DJs that, let me tell you something, right? The hip-hop DJs that lasted, that I know that rung bells. Now, you had these names like Mario. You had these names like, hold on, I want to say Mario. You want to say Cool Herc. But the real hip-hop DJs that cut up the short shots was Jazzy J, Red Alert, Africa Islam, another DJ named Kenny Ken, Cool Clyde, Lightning Lance. They were the ones cutting in the parks.
Wow.
I'm talking about park jams and stuff like that. So,
right.
And yo, look, see, here's another thing about the 70s. The great misnomer, listen, nobody had no money. In the 70s, you was a big deal if you had $40 in your pocket. If you was getting allowance, if you were packing bags, selling newspapers, we were children, and hip hop was a children's culture. I mean, if you was like, when I first saw Stanley, I had to be about 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old, and Stanley stood out because all the girls liked him, and he had green Pumas on, bro. I mean, I know that sounds like nothing now, but for back then, that was the biggest of deal because remember, black people in urban areas outside of Harlem, because Harlem always had it going on because they had some different kind of things going on down there, money-wise. But he had green Pumas on. This was like Yeezys in 1889 or something. Like, what are those on your feet? And he stood out because all the girls liked him. He had a big red afro, hazel eyes, and he had it going on with the girls. So as a child, we looking at him as a light bulb in the jam. But what we're doing, we're in the background playing tag and doing whatever we do as children. But see, the thing about it, it wasn't even hip hop. It was just, first it was, oh, they got the music outside. Right. It didn't have a name. Then it was, oh, they throwing a jam. And then that became the how we defined it. And then later on, you heard the word hip hop. But I'm talking about hip hop before it had a definition.
Right. Oh man. So let me ask you this question. We talked about it before. What do you think about this thing when every time we create a genre, they add Latin to it? So like Latin jazz, Latin hip hop, Latin funk, Latin soul, Latin hustle. You think about all the genres in it, Latin boogaloo. What does that tell you? What's going on?
Excuse my French, but everybody want to be a nigga till it's time to be a nigga. So let me make sure, let me separate this. Latin disco, Latin hustle, Latin rap. We could just, if we were together then, we'd be together now. And I'm not saying that. We have cultural differences. We got stick together differences. We dress different. We romance different. We eat different. So the cultural differences is what makes a person say, yo, let me put a Latin twist on it. Just like Dr. Cologne has a documentary called The Latin Breakdown.
Right.
It's not the hip hop breakdown. It's not the get down. It's the Latin breakdown. And as a person who's always loved music, I wasn't influenced by the timbales.
Right.
It was just a funky break. When you look at, now let's go into Latin breaks like Gershon King Combo. Man, listen, that was incredible. But it was about the funky beat. And like he expounds on, it's just begun. It's just begun. Up-tempo records make people dance. You're not going to get people grooving and hitting the floor off of Barry White, playing your game, baby. Your game, baby. That's not going to happen. But once the beat is over 110, 121 beats per minute, you're going to get people moving.
Right.
So we didn't pick breaks. To say as a music lover, it just begun, Apache, those is the jams. But so now we're singling out breaks when you have breaks like Frisco Disco, Super Sperm, what's the African joint? Phenomenon. It was a bunch of breaks. That people got down off of and was breakdancing. So now we're singling out the Mexican,
right,
Apache, and it's just begun.
Right.
That's not how it works. It never worked like that. So this is Latin people, strap your seatbelts on. This might be the Latin delusion. Because that wasn't the motivation. Like, ooh, that one got timbales. We didn't even know what a timbale was.
Right.
We barely knew what congas was.
Right.
So you say, you take James Brown, the one he talks about, clap your hands now.
Right.
Stomp your feet, or get a drum or something. So when we start to talk salsa, we got to go to Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to Cuba, Cuba gets that from Senegal.
There you go. Or the Congo.
There's records, you will hear salsa records from the 40s from Senegal that sound just like El Gran Combo, with somebody coming on the record talking about unga bunga bing. A bunga bunga bunga. Da, 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 with all the horns and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening here? I'm going to tell you what's happening. If I can interject the white Hispanic as a co-creator, 1,000 years down the line, I could be like, yo, what's the niggas who made Walk This Way? Elvis Presley started rap. We were influenced by Ruben Blades and Willie Colon. That's what this is, man. And it's no, like I say, I love my Puerto Ricans, but I need the Puerto Ricans to gatekeep. And the Puerto Ricans out the East Bronx is like, from my neighborhood, they're like, yo, we didn't create it. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
It's so divisive.
Right.
It's super divisive.
Right.
So Echo Place is a block.
Mm-hmm.
Echo Park is not an area. The Soundview area, you have so many different Section 8 housing developments, HUD, that if something catches on and it's fun, it's going to spread like wildfire. Now, I have to go back to the 70s because before whatever happened with that gang truce, and people still got murdered after that gang truce.
Right, that's true.
But for the people that upheld that gang truce between my area, which was the Black Spade area, and the South Bronx, which was like the Ghetto Brothers, the Javelins, the Savage Nomads, Savage Skulls, when they called that truce in my area, something else started to happen. And it was safe to bring music outside. Because you couldn't, and then I guess it dwindled out. Maybe dudes got jobs, started having babies or whatever. But when you start to, I'm going to expose the lie like this. You go to YouTube, you punch in 80 blocks from Tiffany's. You're going to see an hour of what Blacks and Puerto Ricans were doing in the Bronx. You go to YouTube and you punch in flying sleeves. You're going to see 55 minutes of what was going on in the Bronx. What's another one? It's about 5 documentaries. Rubble Kings, an hour long. There's so many of them. I can't think of them right off the top of my head, but YouTube, the receipts are there. You could not bring music out unless you were down by law and you had juice or you had backup.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they called it in the 70s. Y'all got backup. You know
I
what I'm saying? So if you had to have backup. So it wasn't what I do remember. Breakout had the North, and I never heard Breakout play, but we knew that was DJ Breakout. And to this day, my favorite car is the Manxter 2+2. It's the 5-seater. Breakout had the Doom buggy on the street with the house speakers in it. He would come to Soundview and see this girl over there, and then he cut that music on and he'd leave, and he'd be playing Chi-Chi and Pepe. I know that I'm in love. And I'm just looking at Breakout started the system in the car. There was no such thing as a system until Breakout. Breakout had the 2. You see that video with Herc in a convertible with 2 house speakers in the car? That comes from Breakout, bro.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So look at that. We ain't get no credit for that.
I hear you.
I don't get no. Me and my crew don't get no credit for being the first ones to wear a solo hiking boots.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we start things, we mess with it, we leave it alone, and that's our culture. But no disrespect to Puerto Ricans, but there has never been a moment where I saw y'all with some fly stuff on and was like, yo, now Puerto Rican Rich from Webster, yeah. My man Oye Negro from Midtown Manhattan, yeah. Jason and Gil, yeah. But those Puerto Ricans was down by law. They was the ones that set the trends. Chicky, yeah. Boy George, yeah. But look at those teams. those were like, they were intertwined with blacks.
Right.
Those was down by law. Boy George was a down by law. He had so much style. Man, listen. So it's just things like that, man.
All right. Hey, Brass, can you hear me? If you I know you have some questions if you want to ask Minnesota.
Oh yeah, we're gonna turn this thing up just a little bit.
All right.
We're gonna turn this thing up just a little bit. Hold on. Shout out to my brother Hit, shout out to my brother Chef. We all have some questions. Some of the questions I want to take some questions from the chat. We might drop the link and add a few people. I want to get my brother DQ up here. I want to play a commercial, but I want to do like a part two, because just so we understand, True Saviour is an affiliate of our business. Chef is a partner of our business. So, you know, this isn't all just try media. You know, you have to collaborate with people to get to the top versus trying to step over everybody. So we had some other questions that we wanted to do, but I wanted to let True Saviour get his information out. Well, not let, wanted to allow True Saviour to get his information out, get his questions out. But we got some other questions. We wanted to do it in a bit of a tri-media format. Before we do that, first off, I want to say again, thank you to my brother Minnesota. I see my brother DQ is up here. Make sure y'all pick up that Quan Boy coming out 2025. And I want to play a commercial before we get started, but I'm the worst at this.
Gotta hit it like tap it in the zone. Share it with the world, make the vibe known. Subscribe to the beat, feel it in your phone. Catch the waves we throw, you ain't alone. Like, share, and subscribe. Keep the rhythm alive, we thrive. Hop on this digital ride. Let's multiply the vibe worldwide.
Trimedia Records.
This is my story. Get the story.
On your ID, you see me calling, nigga. Out of his league, a workaholic, nigga. Nickname, big game, big thing. Handle his business, he never switched lanes. Had some brain surgeries in high school. Still came out that bitch a top dude. Moved to the city of the Mavericks. Came out this bitch dropping classes.
All right, cool. So I got my brother DQ in here. So now Minnesota, or DQ, talk to the people.
Yes.
What up, everybody? Hope everybody having a blessed night. Man, salute to Minnesota. Salute to True Saviour. What up, King? Glad to have you back on the panel with us. Man, I'm good. I'm just soaking in the information, man. I love hearing from further masters of their craft, you know, explaining the history, and I'm loving it. I'm just over here soaking up information. I'm a student of the game, I'm an artist myself, so I'm loving it, man. What up, Brass? The king around this thing. What up, baby?
Hey, Donald Trump got people not wanting to be kings. I ain't never kingmaker. Kingmaker. I don't want to be no king. Donald Trump done turned king into a terrible term. So Minnesota.
Yes, sir.
Now we about to put you on the hot seat.
Okay.
So we're gonna turn the heat up.
Let's go.
But before we do that, right? And I was listening to the interview. True Saviour, you do an amazing job as usual. You don't need to be told that. But my question is this: what? And I'm thinking of this from the chat's point of view. Tell us about what you've done, if you don't mind, over the years in music, and then finish it with why would you be considered an authority on this subject? Like what would give you, and we got a bunch of questions, so if you got some water, grab it. But and then True Saviour, if you ever want to hop in towards the end of the answers, that's fine too.
Okay.
So first, what have you done? Because we talk about, you know, your production. I know you're a music producer, but talk a little bit about what you do or have done recently in hip hop and then tell us what gives you the authority to make the assertions that you're making about hip-hop.
As a music producer, I've worked with Mos Def, 50 Cent, Ja Rule, Lil Wayne, Baby, Scarface, Big Pun, Biggie Smalls, Talib Kweli, and I got some stuff that's coming now with Saigon, Pharaoh Munch, Saigon, Pharaoh Munch. I just did the joint with Term and Tech from the Boot Camp Click, the newest joint that they Hustler's Ambition, Hustler Soul. It's a lot. I'm trying to remember. It's more stuff. Gemini, the Gifted One, Yag Fu Front, Grand Poobah, Brand Nubian. Got some more stuff coming with Grand Poobah. Naughty by Nature. That's why I got the Grammy on the second album with Naughty by Nature.
Which song? Because
World Go Round on the second Naughty by Nature album. World Go Round.
Shout out to L-Town East Orange.
Yeah, and City of CeeLo off of that album. I did those two, and then with Mos Def, I got a Grammy nomination for Close Edge. That's the one with him and Dave Chappelle when he's in the car. He's singing the song. I actually rhymed with Mos Def on Grown Man Business on the new Danger album. Been a ghostwriter forever. I wrote for Chuck D from Public Enemy on the He Got Game soundtrack. 33 and the Third Revolutions. I've been a ghostwriter for a long time, and I try to keep it that way. But
so you one of those
I'm into that also, Minnesota, the ghostwriting thing. But hey, you are a real deal goat of it. I want to connect with you. With you if possible.
Okay,
get some.
We'll do that. We'll do that through Truth. That's not a problem.
100.
You're definitely not a hire. You earned your position.
Now what will make me an authority, I don't like to say authority, but let's say I'm a witness on the case, because it's a case now, right? And I'm testifying to the point that I was just a child playing tag in the background. My mother and my aunt is smoking their Chiba outside, and it's happening. The thing I didn't no one. Biggie Smalls said, "Remember rapping Duke. Da-ha. You never thought that hip hop would take it this far." This was just a means of having fun, gathering people, fire hydrant blasting, hot summer days, no chemtrails, beautiful black girls, beautiful suntans, organic food, no gunplay. I mean, you had gang rumbles, but respect, like, yo, shorty, get off the street. It's getting ready to go down. No, the gangsters had a rule in those days. No gangster shit till the street lights come on and the sun goes down. So that's why it was just respect. People respected people. They helped old ladies in the building. I grew up in the Bronx. Has always been rough. I don't care where you was from. The Bronx was always rough. Even down to we had white gangs that would kick your black ass just for being black. You know what I'm saying? I went to an elementary school, Catholic school called Mount Carmel, which is behind Roosevelt High School off of Fordham Road, and I'm going to school with Luigi, Lugo, Ralph Esposito, and now you can either take the long way, which was go down Fordham Road, pop the right on Southern Boulevard, and walk home. That was the safe route. Or you could take the shortcut if your feet hurt and cut through Little Italy. They had a gang called the Little Golden Guineas. I had to get home and ask my grandmother, like, yo, they were calling me names and they were chasing me, like, what did I do? And Grandma and Grandpa had to be like, well, there's this thing called racism, and because of your color, people are not going to like you. And I'm like, at 7. So,
all right,
that's the Bronx. Bronx Tale. I love that movie. Yeah.
I noticed that you said you did a song with Brand Nubian, which takes me to Lord Jamar.
Yes.
Where do you stand? Are you in Lord Jamar pretty much in lockstep in regards to the creation of hip hop?
Well, I won't say lockstep. I think that when I looked at Lord Jamar, I think that Lord Jamar stepped up to fight, not knowing all the facts, just because it was like they do. You know, I don't know. I heard he's originally from the Bronx. I can't say I heard he's from around Cortland, and I know Sadat X got family on Cortland, which is another centrifugal force because once again, it's a black house development, Melrose and Cortland. So, you know, Lord Jamal stepped up the fight. Where he's from. You want to live there. It's one of those places when you get some money, you can move to New Rochelle. If you was a big time dope dealer in Harlem, you bought a house in New Rochelle. You know what I mean? So he's from up there. Now I rule, but I have to say that he just stepped out to fight. But he didn't throw the first rock. He was responding. And I'm glad he did.
And you see this question on the screen? I want to take, if y'all got questions in the chat, y'all ask questions. It says, ask Minnesota if he saw the documentary called Founding Fathers, Hip Hop Didn't Start in the Bronx, about how hip hop really started in Queens, New York.
You know, what's funny about that is my family is from Farmers Boulevard and Liberty. They're from Sutphen. They're from Merrick. They're from Springfield. So once again, I will say this. I did witness hip hop out there as a child. And one thing that they did have was better sound systems than any sound system I've ever seen in the Bronx. Now, with black people, when things start, something like hip hop, it traveled. Ain't nobody in the Bronx had no fucking money and no good sound systems to that blackout. But what I will say is, as a little boy, when I went to Queens, off of Farmers and Liberty, I don't know if it's Anderson or Henderson, up Liberty Avenue. I was at a jam when I was little, like 8 years old, and on one side, they were having a sound clash. It was the Cypher Sounds crew and the Future Sounds crew, and they were just blowing each other out. I never saw nothing like that, but it doesn't predate what I saw in the Bronx. Now, our man did that video, and he did it kind of like, he was like, watch this. He was like, I'm gonna fuck with y'all. He was saying this towards me and Peter Guns. Because at the time he was doing a lot of work with Peter Guns and Tariq. Those were older men. When the children got their hands on it, the records changed. Now, maybe Brooklyn and Queens did have music outside, but what they jigga, party, yo, Spider-Man, man, Gestapo, Zulu Nation, rock, y'all, you don't stop. Totally different. So, you know, look, I'm a child, and my thing is, as a child, it was always my older friends who were 8 years old, or my uncle who was a little older than me, taking me to a jam. I'm just going by what I saw. I would say, you know, everybody in the Bronx is mad at me about this shit I'm about to say.
What you about to say?
Who's the first MC known on Earth?
You got in trouble with Peter Guns over that one.
The first MC on Earth is Hollywood. What's to say?
Wait. Before you go further, why is that problematic? Why did you get in trouble? Because for those of us that don't know, why would you be in trouble for saying that the first MC is Hollywood?
See, my thing is this, right? Let's get the culture correct so others can't steal it. That's my thing. I don't care if it was Arnold Thompson from 118th Street. I don't care if it was George Clinton from Staten Island. I don't care if it started in Jersey, North Carolina. I just don't like other people coming in and saying, no, we moved from the island and we influenced you. We were 50-50. That's a lie. My problem is this. This is my problem. These guys saying they influenced us. For goodness sake, you never could dress. You messed the clothing up. Stop. I never, besides Jason, like if you from uptown, you had the Menudo brothers from 115th Street. You had Puerto Rican Jesus from Brooklyn. You had my man Rich from the Bronx, Oye Negro from Midtown, Jason and Gil, or Puerto Rican Rich. There were like certain Puerto Ricans that were real fly, and it's like the student supersedes the master, but they came up off of running with black folks. And they'll admit that. I got a bunch of Puerto Ricans in the Bronx. It's like, what is this? It's very divisive. It's not an African-American conversation. It's BS.
How do you feel about people, and you can run through these pretty quickly. How do you feel about people? We had an older gentleman that grew up in Castle Hill. He went so far as to say that hip hop wasn't even necessarily a black creation, but that it was a Bronx creation. That was a Bronx creation in the 70s. How do you feel about that statement?
Cap.
Big cap or little cap?
Big, gigantic, intergalactic cap. You had the Sound Masters in Castle Hill. See, this is the thing. I'm starting to think the Latin breakdown is the Latin delusion.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is like growing up in Soundview, I want to say we had like 4 to 7 Latin families because my projects at one time was all black, right? And our Puerto Ricans was tough as nails. And see, here's the thing. In the 70s, African-American people were not friendly. Bro, when I moved from 183rd to Soundview, my first 4 days in junior high school, they whooped my ass. And I didn't know what was going on. Like, but I had to learn how to fight. And then after I ended up fighting them, I had to go through like 3-4 stages of bullies. Like, damn, when does it end? And then finally, I was the first one to come out of my complex, which is Academy Gardens. And my man Mel Quizzy came behind me, bless his soul. But after the Project Kids accepted us, like, yeah, they'll fight back. Then we were cool. So it wasn't no, man, African Americans would have knocked your teeth out your mouth. Everybody was mean in the 70s because these were guns. So there was a rites of passage. So you couldn't just get down. You couldn't just come outside with music. That is a dream, a simple fantasy. That's a fantasy.
I got to get you and DQ at the studio. You are very entertaining. that was fun. All right, so like I said, I'm gonna run rapid fire through these questions because some of my questions, True Saviour, he asked some of the questions that I asked already. So, there's a question on the screen. Do you think that there's an intentional, and a keyword intentional, do you think that there's an intentional effort to rewrite hip hop history to erase Black Americans from it?
I'm sorry, I'm eating my Ethiopian food. Look up how much museums generate annually. And that's I want y'all to have some fun. Go look up how much museums generate annually. So, if the first hip hop museum in the world is in the Bronx, it's going to bring revenue. You're going to have people coming from Singapore, Sweden. People are going to fly in to see, certain people have always appreciated culture and history. Look at the names attached to the museum, and then look at the people. And Melly Mel, I'll fucking say it. Melly Mel gonna say it's Bronx culture. That's a lie. Grandmaster Kaz already said Kaz was there. So, see, this is the thing you got to understand. The elders had to sit back 40 years and watch everybody get paid off of something that was a hobby. And they're finally getting their just due. So Coca LaRock, why is Coca LaRock not? I don't know. He should have a part in the hip hop museum. So my thing is, I just want the culture to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Because look, right, before there was any hip hop, DJ Hollywood was in a spot called Harlem World, and you know I'm good at putting two and two together because my best friend, his mother was like, "Oh, y'all going to see Hollywood? My Hollywood? What do you mean your Hollywood?" So Hollywood been doing this. So here's the thing. Y'all got to interview DJ Hollywood, whose health is, he's good. He's hanging in there, but he's going through some things. So y'all got to sit with Hollywood. And I'm gonna get you Hollywood.
Oh, yeah,
I'm gonna call him and I'm gonna let him explain it to you. See, me personally, I'm born and raised in the Bronx. I love the Bronx, but I'm more for the truth than I am for the Bronx.
I got you.
You get what I'm saying?
I got you.
So it's documented. So what if, and this is hypothetical, this is a conspiracy theory now. What if Busy B went to hang out in Harlem World one night and heard this old guy saying, "Everybody, clap your hands, everybody," and was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna take that back to the park." See, energy travels.
I got you.
Ask Hollywood about Herc. Because I asked Hollywood, he said, "Herc, the father of hip hop, then that would mean he's my father." That nigga ain't my father.
Yeah, no, that would be dope. That would be dope.
Yeah.
Ask him if he got like somehow we can, make it happen, and we wish him the best in health. All right, real quick. Yeah. So are Latinos and non-Black artists, are they seen as, in your eyes, are they guests in hip hop, or have they earned their place at this point?
They've earned their place.
Okay.
I don't want to call them guests, because guest is like, I'm letting you in my house. And I want to say it went like this: African Americans first, Jamaicans second, Latins third, and I want to say Puerto Ricans third. So far as like the people who were.
Oh wait, say that again. Don't gloss over that.
African Americans first.
African Americans first. Okay.
Mario, FaZe, DJ Kenny Ken, Cordio, Africa Islam, Red Alert, Jazzy J, Jamaicans. And see, here's the thing: Africa Bambaataa. Hold on, let me bring it together for y'all. My friend Eaton from Class and Point. He saw me in one of these interviews. He wrote me on Facebook. He was like, "Minnie, what is going on?" I said, "Man, they trying to say that Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans started hip hop." He said, "Minnie, he's Jamaican." He said, "That's a goddamn lie." He said, "I got my ass whooped." He said, "When I first came here off of the boat," he said, "I had on high waters and I had on the wrong shoes." He said, "I had to lose my accent to be accepted." And he said, "I had to start dressing fresh." He said, "And I did all this for all these suckers to come doing reggaeton and all that now." He was like, "Man, listen." But what he's saying is, where Bronxdale is at, right? Bronxdale is in the 104.72. Soundview area is in the 104.73. It's all the Soundview area, but we're divided down the middle like a pizza by the Brooklyn Expressway, which separates our zip codes. This was it's close to 20 housing developments. No, maybe about 15 housing developments. And it's nothing but Black people in the area. Now it's a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, but back then it wasn't really like that. And back then, in the 70s, the Puerto Rican and white gangs were intertwined. So how did we? You gotta look at the Wanderers. You gotta look at the Warriors. You gotta look at a Bronx Tale. You gotta look at 80 Blocks from Tiffany's. You gotta look like Rubble Kings. You gotta look at it's documented. It's documented. They were doing a hustle. It's a fantasy. And what it is, man, listen, here's another one of my favorite books about my neighborhood. This is the area where Soundview started. I mean, where hip hop started. And Soundview, before it was renamed to Soundview, it was Class and Point. You got Class and Point Gardens is the first. Isaac Klassen is the person who purchased the area before the name changed to Soundview. And Klassen Point was the first housing development in 1941 or 1942 that used to be military barracks. So my neighborhood is rich in history because this is when Dutch Schultz went to hide out from the feds. He hid out in the Bronx, in the Soundview area, in the Klassen Point area. So look, all I'm saying is this, right? It's a fantasy, a dream. It's a dream because we have cultural differences, and till this day we're separated. Why? Where's the Puerto Rican African Bambaataa? Because we know that our cultures go like this. Where is the Puerto Rican Red Alert? And I don't mean to say it like that because look at the Cold Crush. They had two DJs. They had Charlie Chase and Tony Tone. But it's clear that Charlie Chase was running with the blacks to get down with the Cold Crush. And he must have been a good ass DJ.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, look, all I'm saying is this. You had sprinkles of down by law Puerto. I like to call them down by law because the ones that were down by law were the ones that never showed any animosity, any hatred, any nothing. Because there's till back then and to this day, there's always been an imaginary line.
What do you, and we're going to get into a conversation. Now, I want to be clear before we go further. I've interviewed Dr. Cologne on our channel. I've had private conversations with him. I've had public conversations with him. We got an interview on our channel. Y'all go check that out. Where we interviewed him directly, and he's always welcome to come up and speak. I know he likes to do a lot of stuff on his channel, which is, I understand that. But I'm not trying to be divisive. I'm not trying to start nothing. But I would allow him to speak his truth if he wants to come up and speak. But being that I have you in front of me, I want you to speak your truth. So now we're going to talk about the good doctor and some of the things that he has said. Now JG says, what does he think about Cologne claiming that Latin started jazz? Now I don't know if he did that, but is that a confirmation? Go ahead.
A culture grab is a culture grab.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, some poor snotty nosed nappy head niggas with afros started something that went intergalactic. They probably listening to this out in Antarctica.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They're probably listening to this on Mars now. So something so great. And the thing is, we don't respect our culture. We never did. I mean, look at what's in here now. Snotty nosed girls, $40 pussy music, venereal disease songs, and I gotta get a guy's money and sexual transactions, financial transaction for sex music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna shoot you in the head 9 times. Like, we don't respect our culture. Clearly, we doing it for money now. The love would be like Talib Kweli, Common Sense, Mos Def, Pete Rock, De La Soul. It's not a lot of love in it. People are trying to get paid now, so it's another fantasy. And I think that people have so much disdain for us, and they see that the way we treat things, they like, I'm gonna get that. So yeah, Latin jazz. Why jazz had to turn Latin? Why you had to have Latin disco? Why you had to have salsoul? Salsa and soul. It's not soul, it's salsoul. That's another way of saying Latin jazz. So I think somebody's been copying, and within the great delusion, I think the disdain is so great that they don't even see like the Morenos did that. Everything was the Moreno style.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, outside of my man Jason, Gil, Puerto Rican Rich, Oye Negro, I can't remember too many fly Spanish niggas that was like tier 1, like, all right, bet. Puerto Rican Jesus, the Menudo brothers from Harlem. Nah, bro, it just was Alpo. A matter of fact, let's give him the flyest Puerto Rican in New York award of all of them.
Rest in peace, Mr. Martinez. Rest in peace, Mr. Martinez.
That was straight up, every week, fashion show. Because at that time, hustlers were stars. That's the only way to explain it.
Mhm.
You know, in that era when we went to that club rooftop. So yeah, I'll give Poe that. And he was a 101. You can't even remake that. You can't even redo what that man did.
Okay, True Savior, they wanted. I only have one more question. We got some people from the chat that want to speak to you. Then I'm gonna let you go. True Savior, they also posed that question to you. Well, before I get to you, well, True Savior answer that question, but then I want to spin it back to Minnesota just to talk about the good doctor. And you don't. We're not. This is not to create divisiveness. But I know in this argument, I want to preface my statement by this because a lot of times it ends up seeming like we're trying to attack Dr. Cologne
I got him.
trying to attack this and the other. But hold on. But what I want to do is I want to at least the one thing I liked when we do these conversations is we have good conversation. So I want to at least, but I do want to get your views on it because he has done a documentary. He seems to be kind of like the face of that movement, kind of spurring it. So before we get back to you, Minnesota and Haskell, just give me a second. I'm gonna allow you to ask the question. I just want to kind of wrap up the show. True Savior, they want to know what you feel about that same question that JG asked.
Well, is it reference to whether or not Latinos are trying to claim jazz?
Well, he says that. Let me go back to his question real quick. I had it on the screen, but I cannot. It says, Brass, I got a question. I don't want to put any words. Okay, it says, what do you think about Dr. Cologne claiming Latins started jazz?
Well, he kind of tiptoed in that subject when he started talking about certain individuals from the early 20th century, like Rafael Hernandez and Ron Tissot with Dizzy Gillespie. And he tried to, Chano Pozo, tried to suggest that somehow they were a factor in creating jazz. Mm-hmm. And I did a video debunking that nonsense because like Minnesota said, it's a culture grab and it's shameful. I mean, Latinos had nothing to do with the creation or the development of jazz. What they did in 1946 or early 43, I should say, Mario Bowser took the knowledge that he gained from Black American jazz musicians and created this thing we now call Latin jazz. Used the same ideas that were formulated behind Black American artistry and jazz and applied it to the rhythmic music of Cuban music. And that created what we call Latin jazz. So that's what they did. But in terms of the creation of it, they had nothing to do with it. If anyone would suggest that they did, it's a fabrication, clearly.
So
okay, so go ahead. Talk about speak on the good doctor for just give me, because I know. See, the thing is, when y'all do these shows, I see these shows. I mean, we do some of the shows, but I saw you on Doggy Diamonds. I saw you on the Scoreboard Keepers. I think that's the name. Shouts to them.
Yeah.
Shout out to Doggy Diamonds.
Shout out to the Scoreboard Keepers. Yeah, and my man Doggy Diamonds.
Yeah, shout out to Doggy Diamonds. And what I noticed though is that a lot of it goes in reference to him. And I know a lot more people are saying that it's a 50-50 creation than him, but a lot of it ends up going towards him. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's specifically towards Dr. Cologne or your thoughts on Dr. Cologne?
I just want to say this. Here's my sentiments on Dr. Cologne, and this is to all of my indigenous, aboriginals, African Americans, Moors, Jamaicans, whatever you want to call yourself, right? I want you to love on your people like he's loving on his people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When Kanye came on Drink Champs and went crazy on that crew that we can't mention, I was like, bro, if you got access to $9 billion, you're the first guy that made it in that could say, yo, I'm going to New Hampshire, I'm going to set up a compound, and I'm going to get every musician, every keyboardist, come live here free, and we're going to create. We're going to make a Go Town, Motown Part 10. So, that's my sentiments. And that's my sentiments on Fat Joe. Love on your people. I'm a part of this thing And I done told myself that I'm so intertwined in this that nobody could tell. I'm doing better than a bunch of a black person could have had my spot. But I'm here, and you know what? We created this. Of course, 50-50. The Jamaicans ain't even came forward to say nothing. But the micro, I don't know if it's the Latin delusion, but I can't remember a time where it was like, yo, Johnny Esposito, he killed it. Yo, I want to be like Rafael Perez. Like, where was your all Spanish hip hop group that tore the 70s apart? Outside of MCs like Tito from the Fearless Four, who was fire. Where's the? It's the Latin delusion. But love on your people like they love on theirs enough to say, yo, wait a minute. Nah, I'm a part of this. And there's nothing wrong with being a part of it. We're arguing for the inception point, and that's it.
Right.
The inception point. Because you know what? Once again, you know what y'all was doing in the 70s? Ballroom dancing. I ain't saying they wasn't gangsters, but y'all was doing the hustle. How come the hustle had to turn to the Latin hustle and Sal Soul? The Sal Soul crew. That's because you'll always come behind the creative. Why jazz got to turn into Latin jazz? Does that make sense?
No.
Why we got to have Latin funk if there was a funk first? Latin hip hop. Co-creators. Stop. Co-creator. The co-creators sound like somebody that you put down.
Okay.
Okay, man.
The link is in the chat. We've been up here for an hour and a half. I want to do more shows rather than just do one long 5-hour show. I want to do more shows. I have way more questions, but I have some specific ways I want to tailor the show. And now that I got my man Minnesota's number, I'm gonna bug him. I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna push you because the one thing that I love though is I was telling you this on the phone. I end up having a lot of conversations on these platforms. Everybody knows I don't like even doing shows. So now what I do is I curate the shows that I want to do and don't do anything else. So what a show like this is important to me because I sit up here all the time of people that was born in 92, people that was born in 86, people that was born in 2000, trying to tell me about the creation of hip hop and what was going on in the Bronx. And one of the things that irritates me a lot is that the older people that tell me about hip hop in the Bronx in 1971, they weren't there, or they're telling me secondhand stories. I like to hear initial stories, and I like to hear from people that are in the industry. That's why I think the conversation moves further. You get the people that are in the industry because they have a completely different understanding. It's kind of like an expert in science. An expert in science that studies it is going to have a completely different look at the topic that we're discussing, just reading books and watching videos and stuff. It's because it's bred into them, it's bled into them. They drank the water in the Bronx. They ate the food in the Bronx. They could tell you the fastest way to get to the train, the fastest way to get to this bus. Like you were telling me, the shortcut through the Italian neighborhood and all that. Those are the kinds of stories in this conversation that mean the most to me, rather than us all sitting down here breaking up something. I was born in Ohio, live in New Jersey. I don't know anything about the Bronx in 1971 or 75, however it works. And the next show I got for you is something you said in this show. We'll talk about it after, but it's about that start date. Because I think that's a you said 75. My brother Hit says another date. I think True Savior says another date.
I said from what I remember.
From what you remember. No, I understand.
From what I remember. Because before then, if they were doing it, it was gangs. Like you had to have power to bring a lot of music outside and draw a lot of people. Because now you got to be able to have the respect where it's going to be order and ain't going to be a gang rumble.
All right, Haskell, I know you've been sitting here, you've been patient. Because and that'll be the next one. I want to talk about the origin date. But Haskell, I don't know if you got a question, you got a statement. Haskell is a treasured member of both channels, Trimedia and Carnivorous Podcast. So you're always welcome to come up. So Haskell, you got a question, you got a statement. What you got for us, brother? We can't hear you if you're talking. You're on mute. We can't hear you. Probably go out and come back in if you're talking.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now, brother.
Yes, sir. What's going on, Brass?
What's going on, Haskell? What's going on, G?
Brother Minnesota, everybody on the panel, man. How y'all doing, man?
Good.
What's going on, man?
So, yeah, I had a couple questions. First question.
Uh-oh.
All we heard was first question. And the link is in the chat. I don't want to keep Minnesota up here too long. We are going to bring them back.
I'm good. Because, yo, look,
okay.
This is video documentation. We need these now because it's getting a little crazy. You know, the Latin delusion, and excuse me, my Latin folks, but y'all came later on, y'all danced, y'all took pictures. But so far as being on that microphone and that turntable, being the people who thought like, oh, this break is gonna sound good. I can't wait to play this Friday. Nah, negative.
Haskell, when you get a chance, you come back. It says your device isn't connected. I got my brother Hits in the building. I got my brother DQ in the building. I have your number. Is it all right if I pass that number to DQ? He's an artist for Trimedia.
Sure. Just text me.
Okay,
just
we'll text you. He's our artist, and he'll send some stuff over to you. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Okay.
I was looking at my wife. What's up, American Dream? Shouts to you. So I got Hits in the building. He's been telling people that I'm fibbing, saying that Cologne is the face of the of the Latin movement. Don't think I catch everything when I'm doing the shows, brother. But hold on, before you go, this is actually the CEO of Trimedia, right? So we all partners and everything, but he's the person that kind of makes everything happen. He's the person that we look to in regards to leadership. So I'm always gonna shout out my brother Hits first before anything. He had a great tech show before this. Make sure y'all go check it out. Hits, you watched the show. Do you have any questions, statements, whatever you want to do, boss?
Yeah. First of all, get me off the big screen like that.
Okay, yeah, I know. You're off the big screen.
Truth Savior.
Your microphone is low.
All right, hold on. Let me crank it up.
Shouts to you, Pan African.
That better?
James. Shout out to James.
Pan-African.
I mean, bro, all these conscious community names, they just run concurrent when I see them. Go ahead, Hits.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Peace to everybody in the chat. Thanks for stopping through as usual. Peace to my brother, Truth Savior. What's up, Minnesota? Nice to meet you, bro. Thanks for coming on the panel. Kicking it with us. Brass, what I was saying was that there's not a lot of people saying 50-50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I would agree. I agree with that.
There's not. And in the age of social media and trigger words and buzzwords,
they still saying you low. They still saying you low, bro.
Somebody can be the face. Is that better?
Yes, a little bit.
And Chef,
hold on.
Yeah, and Chef, you come up. It's funny. A DQ. Now he was the one saying I need the microphone, right?
There we go.
See how this plays? See how that go? See how
but I can adjust mine. At least you need one to adjust.
Hey, Power Beats Pro, man. But I got you.
And look at that, real time. That should be better.
Okay, we got
Chef, is that better? No, I think it's a opportunist time. Like any era or decade, you get a time for opportunity. And if you choose to step out in front to be the detractor of something, nowadays you get just as much publicity and support as people who are not, as supporters. So I wouldn't say there's a lot of people saying that it's we just came off of Hip Hop 50. Chef is saying no. Can everybody?
Don't worry, I can hear you. He's messing with you at this point. Yeah, you follow.
Well, I wasn't going to stop, but we're fresh off Hip Hop 50, and I think the brother Minnesota mentioned that now a lot of people who didn't get credit who didn't get paid, who didn't get recognition, are taking this time to come out and take advantage of that, whether it's concert tours, revisiting their albums, anything like that. And that's cool. And that's cool. But at the same time, in 2022, 3, 4, and 5, we're in the social media era, explicit, where you can just be an online person. One of the shows we had, I talked about a lot of people who are watching and even participating on some of these panels never actually did any of the aspects of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
They never did a break dance. They never DJ'd. They never dressed a certain way. They never rapped. They never sprayed paint on a wall, much less use a magic marker to write something in a book. So you have that dynamic. But at the same time, there's 50 years of history there. 50. Mm-hmm. And it's focusing on hip hop, which is good, but it takes away also from African American culture. It's like you're running these two highways and they're equivalent. They're not. Hip hop is a part of African American music history, African American cultural history, clothing, dance, vernacular, all of these things. It's a part of that. It's not separate. It's not equal to. It's not even close. And let's look at what we were doing in the 60s. Let's look at what we were doing in the 70s and the 80s. Then go back and ask, no disrespect to anybody's nationality or place of birth. Ask them to go back. I can pull up charts right now, music charts. Let's just look real quick, right? Just to give people an example. In 1969, top R&B songs. I was born in 69. That's why I picked this year. Just to give the listeners and the people in the chat something to think about. Jackson 5. In 69, Temptations, Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, Tom Jones, James Brown, Sly and the Family Stone, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Smokey Robinson, B.B. King, the Dells, Aretha Franklin. And people would say, oh, that's not hip-hop. This is what my parents was listening to. So if you're telling me someone from another culture, nationality, had a lot to do with us and we were 50-50, I guarantee you, if you pull up a chart, and that's just music. That's not me going into my mom's and dad's closet to see what they were wearing or following them down to, wherever they hung out after work with their friends, how they talked. So you would have to show all of these correlations throughout your history to one even be considered 50-50. And that it had as much impact. If you can find a Latin or reggae chart from 69 or 70, please do, and let's look at the music. And let's see what stood the test of time. Not one or two songs over 3 or 4 years in general. And this is 69. You can go to 72, 73. I got those windows pulled up. Just put it in. Rhythm and blues, that's what it is. Stevie Wonder, Percy Sledge, Wilson Pickett. I'm on a whole nother. Joe Tex. So it's a hard sell because I would have had to, or anybody from the Bronx or that age would have to have engaged just as much in their culture as they did in ours. We don't speak the same. We don't dress the same. We didn't listen to the same music overall. We didn't even eat the same foods in the same manner overall. So, yeah, you can be in a place. Yeah, you can be in a place. I grew up on the street. I'm north of New York City, Minnesota, Newburgh, 60 miles north of the Bronx. Right up here across from downstate. Anybody ever been in prison in New York State? You probably got processed across the river from me in downstate. But I grew up on the street with Polish people across the street, Italian people's on the corner, Mexicans, Jamaicans, and white boys. The white boys rode BMX bikes. So did I. That would be like me saying, oh, black people, because I created a move on a bike, I'm 50-50 with BMX bikes. People know that that's a white culture. Skateboarding. You don't see people running in taking, that was Filipino. That was French culture. No, where I grew up, it was white boy stuff.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you got it. Go ahead, bro. You got it.
I don't mean to interrupt your bill, but we arguing over something that a Japanese man owns. A Japanese businessman saw us doing what we doing now and came and trademarked the word hip hop. Yes, a Japanese man that has nothing to do with nothing. And he's making hundreds of millions of dollars just because he trademarked the word hip hop.
Wow.
So, you know, this boldness came from seeing our behavior. People saw our behavior and was like, yo, let's take a run on that. And here we are. After we figure out who created it, next we got to figure out who's going to own it. Think about that.
Good point. Good point.
And
okay, my brother, True.
No, I just got one question. Where did we stop at?
Go ahead.
No, I just want to ask one question. Where did we stop?
And
now, whether I like today's music or not, or the new dances, whether I like them or not, the young people are still doing it today. They rap, they dance, they got their own way of dress, and it's not just one way. In Cali is one way, in Tennessee is one way, in Texas is one way, in Florida, and not just per state. Per cities in those states, you're going to have differences. It never stopped. It's the same thing now. It's always going to be that way. We are the dominant entertainment and creation culture, not maybe in money and ownership, but that people follow and try to exploit. And it's second nature to us. Like Minnesota said, we do something, we move on. We change from what our parents did. Shit, we do stuff different than our big brothers and sisters. I didn't want to act like my older sister. She was 3 years older than me. I know her friends was, So even 3 or 4 year age spans will have you acting different. Multiply that times your parents or your grandparents. So you're always going to do something new, adding to what was before you. And it's going on right now. Look at the charts right now. Who are you going to see? Nothing changes. Go ahead.
Let me get Haskell's question real quick because he's been up here for a little while.
What up, Haskell?
Haskell,
hey, what's going on?
Go ahead, my brother. All right, we can hear you loud and clear now. Go ahead, my brother.
All right, beautiful, man. So yeah, my first question to the brother Minnesota. Who would you credit with looping the first breakbeat or extending the first breakbeat? Who was the first to loop or extend breakbeats?
The first samples I may have heard in hip hop, was it Curtis Blow, AJ? Hold on. Good question, bro. That's whoa.
No, I don't think he means on a drum machine or sampler. I think he means physically.
Oh, like a whole soulful loop,
like DJing. Now I don't think he means a sampling machine.
So all right. So yeah, I mean like all right. So they credit Herc with doing a merry-go-round, right? Supposedly, right? That's the general understanding. Consensus, if you will, right? Now, to my understanding, you need 2 turntables to do the merry-go-round. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and the merry-go-round is in essence like a way of extending the breakbeat, right? The get down part of the record, right?
Yes.
So that's my question. So from what I've come to learn is that even at that party at 1520 Sedgwick, where Herc is supposedly credited with the inception of hip hop, from what I've come to learn, he didn't even have 2 turntables at that party. So how he couldn't have extended the breakbeat. So that's why I'm asking, because I think this is the sticking point.
The first people I heard that were basic, and now look, remember, I'm the generation behind phasing them, right?
You second generation.
So I want to say, from my generation, I have to give it to Jazzy J. Jazzy J he don't like to talk, but Jazzy J is a force to be reckoned with. So, because see, when you start to get into Bronx River, something that they had over everybody, they had records. Yo, when you go to the 70s, who had money to have Bambaataa had the meanest collection on earth. and you went to the jam because you knew you was gonna hear something that no one ever played. It was like Bam and them broke records. The records you're hearing to this day that are allowed to be played at the old school parties, Bam and them was playing them. The breaks that started hip hop. Last night changed it all. I really had a that was Jazzy J, Red Alert, Africa Islam, Bambaataa.
And
You know what I'm saying?
that's 75, 76,
Yes,
thereabouts,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, real quick. All right. So another question I wanted to ask, because I'm Jamaican. I came here when in '95, right? And got into hip hop. Was an avid reader of Source magazine. When that issue came out with the so-called Holy Trinity, right?
Right.
Bam, Flash, and Herc on the cover.
Right. Right.
Why didn't we hear more? Because I don't recall hearing any uproar from the native Black Americans, even the ones because even today I hear Kane still maintains that same rhetoric, that because listen, for good, bad, or indifferent, that's still the consensus. Like if
So
you
look,
Google it, yeah.
So look, right? Let's get into what Bronxites are. The Bronx, like Staten Island, is kind of like the forgotten boroughs. Nobody wants to come to the Bronx. It's violent. It's not so cultural. They're trying to gentrify it now. It's working, but it's not working. Bronx people wanna like this. If you've ever been to a party in New York, you'll hear the DJ say, "Is the Bronx in the house?" You're not going to hear people go, "Wow, that's not in our culture." You're going to hear the crowd, "Is Brooklyn in the house?" Ah! Harlem behind them. Ah! But when they say, "Is the Bronx in the house?" you're going to hear the lowest pitch. Bronx people, we're like New York, but we're like I would like to call Bronxites phantom trendsetters. We have a culture of getting money. We have a culture of violence. We have a culture of music. But Bronxites don't care. We are I don't care. I don't give a borough. That's us. We're the only borough connected to the mainland. You're going to go to you just have to experience the Bronx to be like, wow, like, what happened? Culturally, we're different. So I didn't even know the Bronx was going to tweak out once people start. See, we sit back so much that when people saw I think it was more of the lies that got people frustrated to step up. Because in the Bronx, you lying, the Bronx is going to call you out. The Bronx calls shit out. That's it. So when people sort of like, look, I don't have a problem with Dr. Cologne, but I have a problem with him. Because you're lying.
So that source cover ain't piss y'all off?
No, because it was still Bronxites. It's Flash.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Bam,
I see what you're saying.
It's her.
I see what you're
It's
saying.
cool. Mario is dead.
Oh, okay.
But now that it's time to go into infinity and people just forgot Mario, we were more thinking like Bam would have said, yeah, Mario was my guy. See, Mario, what I'm finding out now, when I saw Mario, he had them dirty gray sweats on and he'd be doing the worm with that hat on. I'm here, I'm looking at him do his little dance and the girl's going crazy. The thing about Mario was I didn't know that Mario was mean as a... From the elders, I'm hearing he wasn't no slouch. He wasn't no joke. And he was a little bit of a bully. That's what I'm hearing about Mario. So, people want to forget people like that. There was more than one reason to forget him. He was tough. And Bronxdale Projects, when we went that seat, I'm the generation behind him. When we went I'm from the drug block. So we was on $400 coats, $600 snorkels, $200 boots. We wearing hiking boots in 1984. We wearing Vask in 1984. So when we went to school with them, the niggas from Bronx that was coming to school with BVDs on with Kangos dressed like LL Cool J, and we used to crack up. But every section of the Bronx has its thing. The Bronx is like, I don't want to disrespect. There's a certain project where these niggas act like they from Dalton, Alabama. So the Bronx is like, no one start asking other New Yorkers, yo, what you feel about the Bronx? Nobody wants to go there. It's not, you gotta be from it to be like, to even understand it. Like, we don't care. We really don't care about hip hop at all. But now that people are coming forward lying, I guess they didn't know that the response was going to get this big, because it's our culture to say, I don't give a shit. That's the Bronx.
Y'all too cool for school, huh?
No, not too cool for school. No, not too cool for school. It's if a mental institution could be a borough, that would be the Bronx. The Bronx is crazy. It could happen. It's probably the home of random violence for 50 years.
Hold on, let me add to that real quick. And at the same time, Melly Mel, when they heard Rapper's Delight on the radio, right, in 79, they did say that wasn't real. They did say it was whack. I'm sure when people saw Beat Street and Wild Style, the real graffiti artist was like, yeah, some of that's legit, but some of that's bullshit.
Right.
So throughout, you do have, and that cover was in 93, right? So that's 20 years after the so-called birth of hip-hop. And it's a Source magazine. How many people got the Source in 93? From all over the country, from all over the world.
You know, we had a...
not saying it was small, but it you know.
We had a club in the Bronx. Like, clubs don't last too long in the Bronx, right? They try, but they either get shot. Something happens, right? It was called Club Booms, right? And I remember walking in with my crew because, see, all right, we walk in the club. One of the security guards is Kool Herc. And I'm like, yo, this is the nigga that had everything to do with this. He's a security guard. I was pissed off. Like, our culture kind of works like that. Like, if you care, you care. If you don't, you don't. DJ AJ, you know what he's known for? Handing out flyers. That's right, y'all. His name is AJ. Curtis Blow made a record about DJ AJ. The elder statesmen of hip hop, they weren't included for years, bro. They were surviving hard. Hard. When I say hard, I mean hard. The Bronx is poor, first of all. It's a downtrodden area, and you got a bunch of phantom trendsetters and unique people up here. It's like we are the epitome of I don't care. There's no reason to come to the Bronx, but for some reason back in the days, everybody came to party. We had the disco fever. Everybody, and guess what? All of the hustlers converged on the disco fever. You know why I know that this is a play on our culture? There were some videos on YouTube where Sal, that owned the disco fever, he sat everybody down. He was like, okay, guys, let's get it together. I can't find it for nothing on YouTube. So I know it's a conspiracy at this point. He had Herc, Bam, and they talked for about 10 minutes. It was something about hip hop part 1, parts 1 through 10. It's gone. Where did it go? That's the documentation. It ain't no Puerto Ricans at the table. It's not to badger them. But why did it disappear? Because this is the play on the greatest music form on earth. It's generated the most money. It ain't going nowhere. Every black person in every crevice of the universe still wants to rap, sing, or dance. They know that this thing can get me out the ghetto. Come on, man. We need our own radio station, our own record companies. We need our own station, not BET, not with a boule owner. We need a nigga who had felonies. Give him the deal and let him pick the music to play on our station. We need our own stuff because this is a run on our culture right now. So, to Dr. Cologne, the Latin breakdown is the Latin delusion. It wasn't like that because, hey, buddy, I'll probably find some more books, but somebody documented what y'all was doing in the 70s. And it wasn't hip hop.
I'm gonna try my best to get I'm gonna disco dance. I'm gonna try my best to get Willie Estrada up here. All right, so we at the 2-hour mark. Like I said, I want to do more shows on this. Truth, amazing interview. I appreciate you for getting me in contact with Minnesota and doing at least the initial show. We do got to pay the bills. Before you go, Minnesota, I want you to see the show. And by the way, Minnesota, because you are a person that's been interviewed, I'm extending the same invitation that I extend to anybody else. Whenever we have a show on content, just text me because you actually have my number. Text me. I'll get you the link to the show. You're welcome to any back chat of any show that we have. That way you're no longer just, you're not somebody that's just in the chat that is just trying to, kind of just conversate in the chat. If you want to come up, talk to the people, I don't care if it's 1 million people, no matter how large our platform gets, just text me. I'll give you the key to the back chat.
Right. And I want to say this in closing, I got to get Mr. Biggs and Father Time to talk. I'm going to get them to do, they're going to do Doggy Diamonds. We need to speak to these people because this is so imperative at this point because, it's a money grab, man. That's what's going on. That's what this whole thing, I didn't even know Dr. Cologne and Joe Conzo was in, you got Mickey Benson. Yeah, he's African-American. You got Melly Mel. Look at the names on the Bronx Hip Hop Museum and you're going to start to see why this is going on. But, for me, it's like, can we ever document our thing correctly? Can we ever say, yo, that was us? It ain't Bronx culture. It ain't Bronx culture, Melly Mel. It's not. It was created by a certain ethnicity.
There you go.
So, you know what? I hate coming up like that because I'm going to send you pictures with me, Melly Mel, and Kaz. But I understand they had to sit back 40 years and watch niggas running around with Corvettes that didn't know how to act, shooting each other, Lamborghinis, buying mansions. I want some of that. I started this. Busy B, Grandmaster Kaz, Hollywood, Melly Mel, Audio, Africa Islam, Jazzy J, Red Alert. These people started this thing. They first come last. We started it. We in the back of the line.
Right.
Yo, let me tell you something else. Peep game. In the last 50 years, you could count all the hip hop artists the Bronx has had on 10 fingers.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about in the chat right now. That's what they're talking
Cardi
about
B,
in the chat. Yep.
A Boogie with the Hoodie, Digging in the Crates, Lord Finesse. You don't got a lot of, they ain't, because they know Bronxites is like this. We're going to tell the truth. And as we can see now, the Moist Mafia is starting to get busted. Things is coming out on them.
I just got that.
Let me tell you something, right? I gotta say this. I was a degenerate gambler, and I would and I say degenerate because I wasn't a winner. And I would go, I was one of the people buying champagne Moet. Bro, if I had went to a Diddy party and woke up 3 days later with a throbbing asshole, somebody would have had to die. Yeah, you're laughing. I wanted to go to the Diddy party. Now I know you don't get a lot of Bronxites that make it in the inner circle of the pinnacle, the high point
Right,
of
right.
music.
Where hip hop is now. Right, right. I
They
get what you
don't
mean.
they don't rock with us. Because they know we would have got along with Suge Knight. Tupac would have been alive if he came to the Bronx. We would have accepted him and protected him and loved on him.
All right, so real quick, because like I said, I don't want to put everything into the first show. We're gonna do a number of shows, and I appreciate the content. Truth Saviour, tomorrow night at 7. It's funny, we're doing back-to-back shows. Tomorrow night at 7 in Minnesota, you might find this entertaining. We have a brother in the community who believes that breaking is a 50-50 creation. Shout out to my brother Chief X. We were trying to do this before, but the times didn't match. But now they do. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, Tri Media Carnivorous Podcast, True Saviour versus Chief X on the 50-50 creation of breaking. Truth, if you don't mind, just speak a little bit about that. Take a couple minutes, and then also lead that right into your close, and then I'm gonna let Minnesota take us all out from the conversation. Let him get his last words in, and then we're gonna get to work on the next show. But Truth, talk a little bit about what you're gonna be talking about tomorrow at 7 o'clock with the good brother Chief X.
Okay, well, it's going to be an interesting show to say the least. When I first heard Chief X proposal, which was that, well, his initial proposal was that breaking was created by Latinos. So he's kind of walking that back, but nevertheless, he's still saying it's 50-50. So we're going to dive into that tomorrow, and I'm going to prove beyond any doubt that breaking is a Black American creation and Latinos came later. It's just as simple as that. So, you might want to check that out. I'm going to have a little fun tomorrow. And of course, I want to special thanks to Minnesota for granting this interview. I truly appreciate it. I learned a lot, as I always do when I listen to you, because you tell us a lot of things that we may not have heard before. So I really appreciate that. And of course, I want to thank Tri Media for giving us the opportunity to have this conversation on your platform. So much thanks and appreciation for that.
Okay, shouts to you, Malik Bey. Hits, do you have anything? Because I'm gonna let well, first off, I want to make a quick announcement. If you're not in our Discord, get in our Discord. Shouts to Asko for coming up, asking a question. We have a new show that we have coming up called Discord Wars. One second. Where's the picture? Okay, there it is. We have a new show coming up in Tri Media called Discord Wars. Minnesota, you're more than welcome to come into the Discord. I don't know if you do that, but you're more than welcome to come in there.
I have Truth send it to me.
Okay, cool. We have one of the things that we do in these Discords, and it happens in almost every Discord. It's not unique to Tri Media. Tri Media, we have great conversations outside of these shows, right? A lot of times, my brother Chef, shouts to him, Carnivorous Podcast, and Corey. We'll talk for a few hours while different people are working, different people are flying, doing whatever it is that you're doing throughout the day. We'll have these kinds of conversations in Discords about random topics, and a lot of that just ends up being wasted cutting room floor information. Now, I'm sure once we do this, our hope is that other people who have Discords, y'all open that stuff up to the public, right? Because a lot of times that kind of stuff gets used to create a show that you see that's different, but so many great ideas die on the cutting room floor of these voice chats that we do in these Discords. So my first point is our Discord link is in the chat. Anybody from Carnivorous, you can come over to TMI. Anybody from TMI, get your ass into Carnivorous Podcast Discord and any other Discord. But we're going to start having recorded voice chats, and then we're just going to put it out. And then we'll, and make it kind of uncut, raw, to be simply audio with some visuals baked in. We might do some critiques. And that's the initial flyer we're going to start taping next week. So get into the Discord. Join the Discord, get into these voice chats, because a lot of people don't like to join panels, and I understand that. I don't even know what kind of technology it is. It's kind of intimidating to join a panel sometimes. So That's our solution for that. So look out for Discord Wars coming out next week. We're taping the first one next week. Look out for the show tomorrow, 7:00, with True Saviour and Chief X. We're gonna do some more hip hop content, keep it kind of centralized. Well, at least the content I do will be centralized in and around that. And then also look out for those Philadelphia Eagles that's gonna dog walk the Kansas City Chiefs next week in the Super Bowl. Hopefully that's what happens. I want to see Saquon get his ring, and then Minnesota. I want you to take us out. Hits, you have anything before I pass it over to Minnesota?
Yeah. Thanks to our guest on the panel, True Savior, Minnesota. On the way out the door, Minnesota and Truth, leave your information for the people where you're at, Instagram, Facebook, Twitters, or whatever social media platforms you're on. Definitely let them know, and we'll get that information out. Also, peace to everybody in the chat who came through, our brothers on Carnivorous Podcast and sisters over there who shared the stream with us. Again, the show tomorrow night, 7 p.m., right, Bress?
Yeah, 7:00.
So tune in for that. More hip-hop combo. And again, thanks everybody in the chat, and thank our guests. Peace.
All right, my brother, Minnesota, take us out, brother.
Yeah. On Instagram, simply Minnesota _ Money Boss. I got some hip hop albums that we put out from back in the days under my group, the Money Boss Players. Ghetto Chronicle Daily. Everything is on the streaming sites, and I have my own solo album where I'm not a ghostwriter anymore, but I put an album out called Once Upon a Handshake, Minnesota Money Boss. So, enjoy the music, and I also you might know me from rhyming with Mos Def on a song called Grown Man Business on the new Danger album. But I mean, that's it, y'all, man. Minnesota Money Boss, and to the breakdancing thing, because to the breakdancing thing, we started it and we got up off the floor because we started getting fresh. We abandoned the project. That's it.
We have to say that. You have to say that tomorrow. If Minnesota don't come to the show tomorrow, because when we was talking on the phone, that's the flyest line and the flyest reason I ever heard. He said we started it and then we stopped because we was getting fresh and we didn't want to get our clothes dirty. Lord, that's one of the flyest things I've ever heard. Do you have anything else for us, brother?
That's it, man. Stay out of shit. Don't step in it.
Fly. Oh, yeah. You know you a hip hop for sure. All right, so shouts to everybody, bro. Y'all have a great evening in Minnesota. We'll catch up tomorrow next week. And I want to get into those Hollywood conversations, and I want to get some elders on. And I found it poignant that you said that Hollywood was having some health issues. One of my favorite movies from when I was much younger was Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. And the movie was specifically about a business that went around to people who had terminal illnesses. And they taped them and they asked them a list of questions and they kept it for sentimental value and informational value for their own families. And then there was a thriller sequence behind it. But that's what I look at as YouTube for these. I don't care who watches the show in real time. These are archives of people that are on the ground. We need to get this truth on record before something happens and they can't talk to us anymore. So definitely, I work with you. Whatever we need to do to get Hollywood on this record, so that God forbid anything happens to him. I know he's going through some health issues. We at least have it on record and in the archive so people can see it.
All right, I'm gonna put that together. I'm gonna put that together ASAP. And look, man, I just love that. Lies need pushback from the truth. And I think that people didn't know it was going to be an overwhelming response because the way we carried it. They're probably wondering now, like, what happened? I thought this was going to be 1, 2, 3. We were going to lie, and that was going to be it. And that's unfortunately for them, that's not how it works. So, I'm glad that we're starting to see reason in the logistics of sticking together. You know, because it's really nasty at this point, but we'll see where it is. But let's just keep eloquently pushing back on it. That's all. I land.
All right, y'all have a great evening, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Hold on, you gotta let Truth close out. I think he had a few words.
No, I already
he closed out.
Okay. No, I thought I seen his hand up. Like, hold on.
No.
Hey, Hits, he getting ready. He getting ready to. He gonna try to dog walk Chief X tomorrow. I gotta have a conversation with Truth because I see where this is going. I gotta hit my brother Chief up too.
And last but not least, you know, when you see people doing things, love on your people like they love on theirs. That's all it is. It's love.
Mm-hmm.
We got a language. We got an island. We got a flag.
Mm-hmm.
We got something to do with this.
Mm.
I ain't get caught. We got caught. So with that being said, love on your people like other people are loving on theirs. There's a lesson in this. Don't walk away mad like, yo, they lying. They loving.
Mm-hmm.
They loving on their own, and that's why we're getting this. Loving and lying. But yo, that's it. Stay out of shit, don't step in it. I'm going.
Peace.
All right, Minnesota. Peace, brother.
All right, and on that note, y'all have a good one. Love.